Last episode, it was heartbreaking the Carabao Cup as we were beaten in the last minute by Manchester City, but today, with the European knockout stages about to begin, our quest for our first piece of silverware continues. But as ever, if you're enjoying the series so far, please feel free to like and subscribe, and let's get into today's episode. And of course, we will be starting out with your comments. Number 6 is retired at West Ham due to Bobby Moore, so it's not a number for Calvin Phillips to wear. Yeah, so as you well know, with the arrival of the big Swede, Victor Gyökeres, I did promise him not only a crucial role in my starting 11, but also a crucial number to boot. And with me deciding to change his kit number to number 11, it meant that one of my backup central midfielders, Calvin Phillips, the man on loan for Manchester City in his bid to try and resurrect his career, has gone and landed himself the now retired number 6 iconic number for West Ham United. Now, unfortunately, Calvin, whilst I'm sure some Leeds fans have a great affinity towards you, you aren't that good to warrant bringing that number out of retirement. So unfortunately for you, I'm going to switch your number back to, unlucky for some, but hopefully lucky for you, number 13. And who knows, maybe that might just be the kick that you need to try and resurrect not just your career at West Ham United, but your career in England as well. Utilising training plans for individual players, which will prioritise fitness rather than sharpness, would mean you could play more games with your best lineup. This means you wouldn't line up so weak against teams like Arsenal and Spurs. So yes, in previous episodes when I've been facing off against some other huge London rivals, the likes of Arsenal and Spurs, I have had to do it going into the game with several of my players hitting the wall in terms of their fatigue, and as you can see right now, I'm suffering the same problem with most of my starting 11 really struggling with their overall stamina. Now, I've got to be honest, looking at the specific training plan isn't really something that I've touched upon too much in this career mode, and as you can see, looking at the starting 11 of most of these players, their sharpness is pretty much through the roof. It's just their fitness is being run into the ground at the moment. Compare that to the people that I've got on the bench. As you can see, their fitness is really good, but it's their sharpness that is really suffering, with most of them not even in the green. And so with that in mind, and with the fact that we've got Manchester United up next in just 3 days' time, I am going to take on your advice. I'm going to change this more balanced fitness plan and move it over to a more energy-focused plan. I'm going to apply this specifically to all of the players in the starting 11. However, with my subs, I'm going to go the complete opposite way. I'm going to switch to a more performance-focused training plan, and once again apply that to all of the substitutes and the reserves. Hopefully that would allow my players to be better rested and recovered for that huge clash against Manchester United in 3 days, and hopefully it will mean that I will be able to utilise my best players in what will be a huge game. And finally, the centre-back position is an area that I think you need to take the team to the next level. Antonio Silva, he's one of the best young defenders in the world. Ousmane Diomande, he's a great player. Next season, if you qualify for the Champions League, then perhaps someone experienced like John Stones and Nathan Ake could be a great shout. So yes, on his return from injury, Kurt Zouma has had a bit of a torrid time, giving away that decisive penalty in the Carabao Cup final against Manchester United, which caused heartbreak both for the players and the travelling fans. And whilst I was hoping he would retain his status as the leader of men amongst the squad, as you can see with his 79 overall rating and with it being 29 years of age, not only has he been overtaken in the overall rating chart by this man Mavropanos, but also by his centre-back partner Özgürd as well, meaning that unfortunately for him there are now several question marks about his position in the squad and his position in the starting 11 as well. Now, to be fair, looking at the entire backline, there can be absolutely no debate that if we want to take this team to the next level, we are going to have to make improvements ahead of next season. And obviously bearing in mind I've only got £2 million left in my budget, and the fact that we are well past the January transfer window, it certainly won't be until the start of the new season that I'm going to be able to bring some extra players in. Speaking of new defensive signings though, I've certainly had several fantastic suggestions from you guys watching as to who I should bring to the club. Starting off with this man John Stones, he's now come up a couple of times, it must be said, and with him being 86 rated and with him being a treble winner and having multitude of seasons of Champions League experience, there can be absolutely no doubt that he would be a huge upgrade to my backline. However, with him just being 29 years of age and still playing for arguably the best team in the world, not just in England, would he be ready at this point in his career to make the step down to West Ham United? And arguably the same could be said for this man Nathan Ake, an absolute stalwart in that treble winning side of Manchester City. However, it seems like at 29 years of age he's left the Premier League and moved off to Atletico Madrid once again. Would he want to leave the Spanish Giants to come to West Ham United? However, continuing our ethos of trying to bring in the best young talents across Europe, there can be no question this man Antonio Silva fits the bill perfectly. Just 20 years of age and already 80 rated, he would come in and fit in well in my back line and surely be an inspirational figure and a key foundation of the team as as the career mode progresses, and as you can see, due to his physical stats, he would fit in perfectly to my high defensive line. And who knows, depending on the budget and depending on the scout report that I get back from this man, Ousmane Diomande, he could well be a fantastic central defensive partner for him as well. At just 20 years of age, once again, he has his best years ahead of him. Let's go to see what my scout has to say before I make a decision as to whether or not I'm going to bring him to the club in the summer. However, as I've said time after time, let me know down below if you've got any suggestions as to who you would like to see in a West Ham shirt next season and what defensive reinforcements you think would fit in perfectly to this West Ham United team. And hopefully, provided we can get European football once again this season, my transfer budget will be enough to try and bring in some decent players. However, speaking of European football, with the board having high hopes for me this season to finish in a Europa League spot in the Premier League, I don't think we're doing too badly whatsoever. We've got a game in hand on Fulham, who sit in 4th place, and we are only just 4 points behind them. If we win it, we could potentially leapfrog the likes of Aston Villa and Liverpool and really put some pressure on the London club. However, in other news, with the disappointment of the Carabao Cup final loss to Manchester City, the board have also got some incredibly high expectations for me, not just in the Premier League, but also in the domestic cups as well, as they want me to go all the way in the FA Cup and lift the trophy in my first season in charge of West Ham United. However, with Manchester United of all teams standing in my way in the 5th round, we head over to Old Trafford for what is going to be an absolutely gigantic clash. We've got to hope that we can put the disappointment of the Carabao Cup behind us and try and see if we can get our campaign back on track, this time in the FA Cup, and do something that West Ham have not been able to do in a very, very long time, and that is lift the coveted FA Cup trophy. And it seems like the advice of switching to a more energy-focused training plan has really paid dividends, as you can see, my players are feeling fresh heading into this game, and it has meant that I have been able to field my strongest starting 11 as we look to put the woes of Manchester City behind us. But Alvarez in midfield finds James Ward-Prowse, who's trying to wriggle away from the challenge of Mason Mount, I believe it is, as Manchester United press high here in the opening 5 minutes. Emerson almost under a bit of a challenge there. Mavropanos, though, will bring this out to Alvarez, who now has got a bit of space to run into here as Manchester United just allow us to run forward here. And now Jared Bowen down the right-hand side. Can he try and feed a ball into the box here? No, he can't. Instead, plays it back into Alvarez. Alvarez is going to look for the overlapping run of Van Ewijk. Plays a ball in, looking for the big Swede. Instead, tries to find James Ward-Prowse, and in the end, Onana dives on the ball heavily in the opening 10 minutes. Rasmus Højlund for United turns it around the corner into Anthony. Out wide to the left-hand side into Pedro Gonçalves. A couple of little step-overs there to try to get away from Van Ewijk, but isn't able to. Amrabat, though, gives it back over to the left-hand side. Manchester United with a good period of possession here inside my half here. Lovely little flick from Mason Mount, but James Ward-Prowse, his English compatriot, wins it well, and now we can try and steal a counter-attack, but in the end, Gyökeres is just shoved off the ball a little bit as Manchester United now try and bring it forward once again with Højlund. Back into Maguire. United unable to penetrate the block between my midfield and my defence so far, as Casemiro tries to be the man to do just that, but once again, we're in the right place at the right time, and now Gyökeres can bring this one forward. We've got an opportunity of a counter-attack here. It's played down the left-hand side into Mohamed Kudus. He's got space to run into on the left-hand side. Can he try and see if he can cut the ball back? He can, but Maguire gets in the way. Lucas Paqueta was in there. Onana trying to be, well, he's trying to be a bit creative there, bringing the ball out from defence, but in the end, they just about clear their lines. West Ham have had the better of the two chances so far, though. Sergio Roberto under a bit of pressure from Kudus here. Relentless pressure from West Ham, and we've won it really well in a dangerous position here. Kudus into Emerson. He's blocked off, though. Manchester United really living life on the edge. Sergio Roberto back into Onana. Where on earth is the goalkeeper doing? In the end, he just has to hack it clear. My word, Ten Hag will be absolutely furious so far with this display, as Alvarez now brings this one forward into Kudus yet again. He's going to try and look for the overlapping run of Emerson. Manages to find him. Dinks it in, looking for the big Swede. Cannot get his head on it. Kudus, though, will get the return ball. Emerson to float it back in. This time it's a poor ball. United clear their lines once again. But the pressure is starting to mount here as Azure brings this one forward into Alvarez yet again. James Ward-Prowse now has the opportunity to bring it forward. Plays it into Gyökeres, who tries to bring it round the corner around Amrabat, but he was just doubled up on. And in the end, Manchester United get it away. Malacia now to bring it out of defence, but once again he's blocked off. This time it was by Alvarez, and now Gyökeres can bring this one forward. Doesn't really have too many options. He's the man that I want in the box, but in the end manages to find Jared Bowen, who switches it onto his right. Jared Bowen across into the back post, and in the end Kudus almost got his head on it, but it was just cleared away. Manchester United are living on the edge here as we ramp up the pressure. Jared Bowen again on his right. This time going to try and fire it in. Again, I was looking for Gyökeres, but instead it was Harry Maguire who met it as the referee blows for half-time. Well, so far so good. We haven't been able to break the deadlock in the opening 45 minutes, but we certainly have been the better of the two teams. Manchester United unable to carve out a single opportunity so far. We've had chances, but frustratingly we haven't been able to take them. We've got to make sure that we change that here in the second half, as now Kudus is going to try and play this one down the left-hand side into Emerson. It's a lovely ball. He can now try and see if he can get into the penalty area. Cuts it back into the path of James Ward-Prowse, who switches it onto his right, goes to strike. Good defending, though, in the end from Amrabat. Højlund into Anthony, goes central into Mason Mount, cuts it back into Harry Maguire. This game is really starting to pick up here as Manchester United now play a ball into Casemiro, who finds himself on the right wing, an unlikely position for the Brazilian as Anthony now has it into a shirt though with a brilliant challenge. Kudos brings that one out of defence. It's been a really, that is absolutely brilliant. Lovely way to get ourselves out of trouble there as James Ward-Prowse now has an opportunity to bring it forward. Can I try and play it down the channel into Jared Bowen, into Van Awig, into Paquetá, tried to play it round the corner into Gyökeres, but in the end it was really good defending yet again from Harry Maguire. Anthony for United into Højlund, and once again they're managing to get the ball into my half, but they aren't really managing to carve out any opportunities. But is this going to change it today? My word, what a save from Areola from absolutely nothing. I thought my defender managed to get a challenge in, but Højlund had the strength and power to get away, and now Jared Bowen can be the man to try and get away, but it's Gyökeres who at the moment is very isolated up front, but he's done a really good job of holding the ball up, and he plays it back over into Jared Bowen, who cuts it into Lucas Paquetá on his left, and Lucas Paquetá gives us a deserved 1-0 lead. It's absolutely fabulous finish from the Brazilian after a wonderfully worked counter-attack. Well, that was all about having the big Swede up front to just hold the ball up and just wait for the timed run of Jared Bowen out wide on the right-hand side. He had the awareness to lift his head up and just play it into the path of Paquetá, who took it on the turn. Lovely little finish round the Nana with his left foot. 1-0. West Ham United deserve to be in the lead here at Old Trafford. It's Anthony now for Manchester United as they try and see if they can hit us back straight away. But Kudos, I thought Kudos had the beating of him for pace, but he's managed now to wriggle his way past a couple of challenges here, and he's checked back into the box. Højlund tries to strike in the end. It's a good save from Areola. My word, Manchester United responding straight away, and now are we starting to wilt under the pressure as we give it away? But James Ward-Prowse with hit experience winning the ball back, but unfortunately it looks like we've given away a free kick in a dangerous position here, and it's one that Mason Mount is going to take, and it looks like he's going to try and float this one into the box. He does, looking for the big head of the big man Harry Maguire. In the end he gets the head all wrong and it goes wide, but Harry Maguire has gone down here with a serious injury. I've obviously got to hope that it's not a big one, but it does look like it. The referee calling from the stretcher, but more importantly, have we gone and given away a penalty here? It doesn't quite look like it. Let's see if we can check out the replay here as the ball came over. Harry Maguire went up with the shirt. I don't think there was anything in that really. Perhaps he just fell down a little bit awkwardly, as did Mavropanos over Hurchard in the end, if you did catch that on the left-hand side. But it seems like, fortunately enough for me, it has just gone out for a goal kick. Into Souček on as a substitute as I try and see if I can bring on some defensive reinforcements alongside Somerville on the left-hand side to give us those fresh legs in the attacking areas. And Somerville gets his pass all wrong there, perhaps a little bit rusty coming on as a sub. And now Højlund plays it into Anthony, gets it back from him, plays it down the channel into Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes tried to strike. Areola came out very quickly. Very good goalkeeping from the Frenchman, and he actually manages to win a goal kick. Well, we've got 5 minutes remaining on the clock here to hold on to what will be a memorable victory here at Old Trafford. It's turned around the corner. Gyökeres has picked it up and come very deep now to try and hold on the ball and keep us in play. As Souček now will try and see if he can float this one back over to the big Swede, who tries to go past Luke Shaw. He's tussling with him in the end. Onana just has to boot that ball clear. Unfortunately enough for me, that turned out to be the very last attack of the game as I shake the hand of Erik ten Hag and I salute the travelling fans for their support. As at full time here, it finishes Manchester United 0, West Ham 1. Well, with Paquetá bagging the winner against the Red Devils, we've done something that I'm sure not even the most hardened West Ham fan would have thought we could do, and that is knock out the English Giants and secure our spot in the quarter-finals against Stoke City in a side that I think is very winnable. It's a win that keeps the board very happy, and it's a win that keeps the fans and the players happy as well. Moving Mavropanos back into the starting 11 in place of Kurt Zouma seemed to be a master stroke, as defensively I thought we were fantastic all game. And whilst new signing Victor Gyökeres didn't manage to get on the score sheet, his contribution to the goal was absolutely invaluable. His hold-up play was perfect, and since shifting Jared Bowen back out to his rightful and more natural position on the right-hand side of midfield, he's got several assists, but arguably the most important of the lot was that one today. He laid it on a plate for this man, Lucas Paquetá. He's got that something special, and once again, he proved it today against Manchester City. He's having a fantastic campaign so far. 8 goals and 4 assists in just 32 appearances. How much longer can we keep this man at West Ham United before the big teams come sniffing around for a signature come the summer? And it seems like that victory has got our confidence back on track in the Premier League as well, as Gyökeres and Jared Bowen both get on the score sheet as we beat Everton 2-0 away from home. However, I said at the very beginning of this episode that our European campaign in the knockout stages was about to get back on track, and after topping our group with 6 wins out of 6 and 18 points on on the board. We've been drawn in the round of 16 against Real Sociedad. But frustratingly, it looks like we've put ourselves in a very difficult position, as after simming the first leg, we lose 2-1 away from home. Fortunately enough, we did get a late goal from Somerville that keeps our hopes alive, but we still got it all to do in the second leg at the London Stadium. And that is where we are going to pick up in our very next game. Once again, we return to a knockout competition, and once again, we have the chance to keep our first opportunity of silverware alive. Nothing but a win here today will do. Let's see if we can get the job done here in front of our home fans at the London Stadium. And of course, hot off the heels of that monumental win against Manchester United in the FA Cup, I'm sticking to the same starting 11, and hopefully we can get the job done here today. Andre Silva now trying to go one-on-one with Giroud down the left-hand side, cuts it back into Marino. He's got the ball inside the penalty area. Mavropanos came across. It was a good defensive block in the end, and now Kudos can try and bring this one away. And we're going to try and see if we can hit them on the counter-attack. He's bundled off of it, though, by Subamendi, but it's a real tussle between the two of them. He's ended up giving away a free kick in the process, and it's a free kick that is going to be floated in right to the edge of the box here, headed away, though, but in the end, Andre Silva did manage to get a little nod onto it. Fell gratefully into the arms of the goalkeeper, and now finally we can bring it away once again. Jarrod Bowen into Paqueta. I'm going to try and look for the looping ball over the right-hand side. Back into Jarrod Bowen. Really nicely done. Gyökeres is on here. Can I try and find him? Into the channel we go. He's going to float it across. I was looking for Kudos at the back post. Couldn't quite find him. It's a big opportunity missed. Traore blocked off by Paqueta. Can he get onto the second ball? No, he can't. Inches away there, but Gyökeres is chasing down Aritz, but in the end just managed to wriggle away. Sociedad living life on the edge here as we press high to try and see if we can get an equaliser on aggregate here. We are pressing so high, but in the end that is beautiful play by Del Castillo, and now he's got away from a couple of my players here. Mavropanos frantically trying to chase him back. Can he try and find a ball in the box? Brilliant recovery defending from the man from Greece, and now in the end Kudos can bring it clear, but Marino, it's going to be a real ding-dong battle between the two of them as it goes off for a throw-in. Javi Galan down this right-hand side. Alvarez comes across with a crunching challenge to win it back from him. Gyökeres, lovely little ball into the path of Jarrod Bowen now, who has options running into the box. Can he try and find them? Instead, I'm going to try and cut this one back into the path of Lucas Paqueta, into James Ward-Prowse on his left, goes to strike, blocked, corner. But with just under 10 minutes remaining of the half, we're starting to knock on the door, and it's the set-piece specialist James Ward-Prowse to try and float it in, looking for the big header. James Ward-Prowse, and he's gone and done it. He's gone and got the goal that has levelled the scores here on aggregate at the London Stadium. It's a beautiful floating header from Jarrod Bowen. Absolutely unbelievable. Fantastic delivery. What else would you expect from James Ward-Prowse? But that is a delightful header. The keeper had absolutely no chance, and Jarrod Bowen, not exactly the tallest man on the pitch by any stretch of the imagination, but got in ahead of the defenders, and it's a lovely towering header to give us a 1-0 lead, 2-2 on aggregate. Well, it was a brilliant way to get ourselves back on track at the back end of the second half and get ourselves on level terms here in the tie, as you've got to be honest, with the home advantage, you would put us as the favourites now to try and see if we can clinch our place in the next stage of the Europa League, as Alvarez comes across with a challenge, doesn't manage to win the ball back. He does at the second attempt though, and now he can try to bring this one clear. Lucas Paqueta is running on, but I'm waiting for the run of Gyökeres. In the end, Alvarez looks like he doesn't even need him. Drives into the box, unbelievable, checks it back into Paqueta. Oh, what a goal that would have been. Well, you don't expect those sorts of lung-busting runs from Alvarez, but my word, that would have been a sensational goal. But James Ward-Prowse to throw it back in, this time looking for Mavropanos, looking for a carbon copy of the first one. Doesn't manage to get the ball in the back of the net as Paqueta tries to win it back. In the end, though, Sociedad get the ball, and they can clear their lines once again. James Ward-Prowse with the throw, takes it into Kudos, who's dropped deep, and now this is all West Ham here at the very start of this second half. Oh my word, as my centre-back is completely taken out. His shirt is down. I've got to hope that this is not a serious injury. What is the referee going to do here? He brandishes a yellow card. I think Llorente can be a very, very lucky man. Fortunately enough for me, Giroud is back to his feet. He will continue, fortunately enough. But let's check the replay out. I mean, that is a bad challenge. Very mistimed. Lucky boy to still be on the pitch. Andre Silva now for Sociedad. Lovely ball through the channel. Jarrod Bowen frantically trying to get back to try and challenge Javi Galan, and he's done a really good job of doing so. Jarrod Bowen has come alive this season since moving to the right-hand side. He's been absolutely splendid, and he's continued his run. He just doesn't have the pace to keep going, but he has got the wherewithal to play a lovely ball down the channel into Gyökeres. He's going to try and feed this one to the back post. I was looking for Kudos. Really good defending from Traore, and he's had the composure to just clear that ball away. Really nicely done. Andre Silva skipped away from the challenge of Giroud really nicely. And now Real Sociedad bring the ball clear. This has really turned into an end-to-end battle here between these two teams. Giroud goes and puts a challenge in, and he's given away a really cheap penalty. It's absolutely horrendous. Well, the big man was done on the turn, and as he frantically tried to come back, it was a laboured challenge and a silly one to give away. and it now means that Sociedad have a wonderful opportunity to get the tie back in their favour. But it's a huge save from Areola. My word, look at the celebrations. They just know how important that was, and it has kept our Europa League dreams alive. But Sociedad have got a corner, about 15 minutes remaining on the clock here, and this is anyone's to win. Del Castillo, lovely little turn to get away from the challenge and float it into the back post. And in the end, it's Aritu just loops it over the bar. That is a big miss. 10 minutes remaining on the clock. It's got Ocares now to try and bring this one forward, looking for an option ahead of him. Finds Paquetá, really nicely done, and Paquetá's got Jared Bowen on the right-hand side, but he doesn't have any options in the box. I'm waiting for Ocares to get in the middle. Ocares still running, but Paquetá picks it up instead, tries to strike, but it's blocked off by the defender, and once again, they clear their lines. Arit to try and bring this one away from Sociedad. The press is still very high. It's absolutely relentless from these West Ham players. Clearly, the new training plan is paying off in spades. As the referee blows for full time, it looks like we are going to be going into extra time. Marino now for Sociedad plays it down the line into Andre Silva. Andre Silva, though, going one-on-one with my defenders. He's got the strength to just bat them away, and he's got the composure to feed it into the path of Marino, who with one touch just slid it into the back of the net. Beautiful side foot goal. Oh, once again, defensively, we fell asleep, and it was just too good. That man, Andre Silva, has caused carnage so far in this game, and whilst he doesn't get a goal, he does get an assist to his name. Laid it on a plate for Marino, who of course would not miss from there. Lovely goal, 1-1. But as we begin the second half here, we've just got 15 minutes remaining to keep our European campaign alive. We've almost thrown it away, but we need one more goal to try and take this one to penalties. I think it might just be a little bit more than we can handle to win it altogether, but can we just try and see if we can keep this game alive as it's played down the line, looking for Kudos. Traore, though, who's been absolutely sensational on the right side, just sees it out. Sociedad have got a goal kick out to Traore. The West Ham fans look on in anticipation here. The clock is counting down quicker than we've ever seen it count, but still, we still have the chance to try and see if we can get ourselves back into this tie. Jared Bowen, lovely little turn away from the defenders, continues into the centre of the pitch here. He's looking for an option out wide of Kudos, manages to find Kudos, but it looks like every single man for Sociedad is back in line defending in this low block as Jared Bowen into Alvarez. Alvarez into Gyökeres. Gyökeres tries to make his way into the box, can't quite find the space that he needs. Kudos does though. Kudos into Gyökeres, who just tries to chip it over the goalkeeper in the end, just beats it over the bar. Oh my word, we've got one last opportunity as we are deep now into stoppage time. James Ward-Prowse to float it in. Once again, looking for Jared Bowen, and this time he doesn't get the head right. It loops over the bar. The fans can't believe it. Let's check out the replay. Was that the last opportunity of the game? Jared Bowen just a little bit too small. The ball was a little bit too high for him. He's frustrated, and he's every right to be as the referee calls time on this game today and calls time on our Europa League adventure. It's heartbreak once again in another cup competition as we are beaten by Real Sociedad in the round of 16. Full time it finishes 1-1, but it's 3-2 on aggregate for Real Sociedad. Well, it's real disappointment to be knocked out of a competition that I really thought we could win, and despite us dominating the game, I really think it goes to show that we are in desperate need of some defensive reinforcements. Yes, he is my highest rated defender, but it was a really lackluster performance from the Moroccan Azurd. Really poor. Another time where we've given away a penalty at a pivotal moment, and it has come back to cost us once again. And so that is why it is so important now, more than ever, for you guys to give me your suggestions as to who you want to see plying their trade in a West Ham United shirt next season. I am in desperate need of some defensive reinforcements, and the summer transfer window cannot come quickly enough. Once again, let me know down below what you think. And frustratingly, with us having lost the Carabao Cup final and still stuck in 7th place in the table, despite us only being 3 points behind Liverpool in 4th and having a game in hand, suddenly my popularity with the board has been turned on its head. And after knocking Manchester United out of the 5th round of the FA Cup, it puts even more pressure on my shoulders to get a victory in the quarter-final away from home against Stoke. And to make matters even worse, since the move of this man Mohamed Kudus over to the left-hand side of midfield, replacing the 22-year-old Somerville, who now unfortunately for him has had to drop to the bench, the cracks are starting to show not just in our overall squad morale, but in individual players as well. It is that man Somerville who's come knocking on my door, demanding to get extra game time, otherwise saying that he's going to have to consider his future at the club. And with him being just 22 years of age, already going up by 3 ratings, and already being 79, and someone whom I think will have a crucial future at the club for the foreseeable future, especially if some other teams are going to come in for some of the big name attacking players that I've got at the club already. It's absolutely vital that we try and keep this man happy. And so that is why, in spite of fatigue still ripping through my squad, and in spite Somerville still having a bit of tiredness, I am going to put him on in place of Kudus for this huge game against Stoke. Unfortunately enough for me, despite Kudus of all people getting on the score sheet, it did work out well in the end as we end up beating Stoke 2-0 away from home and securing our spot in the semi-final of the FA Cup. And now, with all of the top 6 teams being booted out of the competition, you've just got us, Everton, Fulham and Aston Villa left, and I put us as one of the favourites to go the whole way. However, it's time to put that to one side and return our focus back to the Premier League as we head back to our home turf to face off against our arch rivals Tottenham, a Tottenham team that are vying for the Premier League title this campaign, facing off against a West Ham team who are vying for Champions League qualification. I'm sure both teams will be eager to put a dent in each other's quest for success. Who's going to pick up the 3 points here today? And with James Ward-Prowse suspended ahead of this huge game, courtesy of picking up too many yellow cards, it is this man Souček who comes back in to the starting 11 to partner Alvarez in midfield. And apart from that, I stick to my usual starting 11. Ajerd now has it, looking to put the disappointment of that Real Sociedad game behind him as his central defensive partner Mavropanos brings that one out of defence and finds Gyökeres, and he finds Kudus on the left-hand side. Kudus now to try and see if he can wriggle away from the challenge of Pedro Porro, the right-back, and he's done a really good job of doing so, and he fires it into the back post looking for Jared Bowen. Doesn't manage to find him, but does find Souček, who lines up a strike, gets it all wrong. In the end, it's easy for Alaba to intercept and get it clear for Spurs. Son gets it back from Basuma and now tries to drive down this left-hand side, and there is absolutely no way that Souček is going to have the pace to keep up with the South Korean, and he's got the footwork to get away from the challenge of Van Ewig into Pavlidis, who comes across into the path of Bentancur. It's all too easy for Spurs to take the lead here inside the opening 18 minutes. Well, they just stormed through my defence like a steam train, and it was lovely play from Pavlidis, unselfish, laid it on a plate for Bentancur, and once again my central defenders were found wanting. Ajerd was caught napping, Bentancur got round the back of him and just placed a shot into an empty net to give us a 1-0 lead. Out to Jared Bowen. Bowen across into Van Ewig, into Alvarez. Alvarez back into Souček. Souček now to try and bring this one away and try and see if we can get ourselves back into this game. Lovely play there from the young man. And now Kudus has got the opportunity to try and dink it across, but Pedro Porro got in the way. Souček, though, will pick it back up again. Back into Kudus. Kudus almost challenged by the Swede Kulusevski as Emerson now picks it up. The left back trying to see if he can shift it onto that left foot. Paquetá picks it up, though. Drives into the box. Is it going to go out for a corner? No, it won't. Romero heads it clear. Jared Bowen can't get on the end of it. Spurs hack it clear, but that's the first real opportunity, and it's one once again that we didn't take. And the corner back into Emerson. It's been a really good response since going 1-0 down here, as Emerson now tries to bring it central and finds the more creative man in Paquetá, who tries to play it forward into Gyökeres, who I've got to be honest has been fairly quiet so far in this episode, yet to find the back of the net, and I've got to try and see if I can try and get the best out of the big Swede here, as he is going to be absolutely key to unlocking this stubborn Spurs defence as it goes out for a throw into Paquetá. Paquetá with a lovely looping ball. That is absolutely brilliant from the Brazilian. Right over to the path of Emerson. Emerson now to try and float this one in. I was looking for Gyökeres, but in the end it was just headed down by Jared Bowen, and he took it on the volley. He took it really well, but it was a fabulous save by Vicario in the end, and now Spurs have got a defender corner here as it's going to be Souček in the absence of James Ward-Prowse to float this one in into Gyökeres, but it's Mickey van der Ven with the big head, but the big Swede wins it back from him. Souček once again to try and float this one in, looking for Paquetá. Once again Van der Ven is there, but the goalkeeper and him getting in all sorts of trouble. Gyökeres hits it down, Vicario just about saves, Spurs hack it clear, but my word, we are knocking at the door here. Basuma at the start of the second half for Spurs with a pretty rare foray into my half, it must be said, since they scored, as it's pretty much been all West Ham here, as Kudus now plays it into Emerson down the left-hand side, and once again we pick up from where we left off here in the second half. Kudus into Souček. Souček cuts it back into Gyökeres, who puts it wide. Basuma now for Spurs into Bentancur. He's looking up ahead of him. What options does he have? He's looking for Kulusevski on the right-hand side. Finds him. Good challenge, though, from Emerson. And now, once again, Kudus gets there first. Paquetá now can try and release Kudus down this left-hand side. He does just that. Pedro Porro frantically trying to get back here as Kudus now cuts it back onto his right. Finds Gyökeres. Lovely ball. Oh, my word. Inches away from getting on the end of that was Lucas Paquetá. If he did, he would have been clean through here. But lovely challenge from Souček in the end. Bentancur, though, does a really good job of winning it back once again from Kudus. The Spurs managed to clear their lines and regain possession into Kulusevski. Kulusevski, lovely little dance away from Emerson. Doesn't manage to get away from Mavropanos, though. Kudus into Paquetá. Paquetá tried to play it into Gyökeres, who couldn't hold the ball up well enough. And now Pavlidis to bring this one clear. He's going to go up against his compatriot in Mavropanos, and he goes past him, and he makes it look easy. Areola, really poor goalkeeping, and it was poor defensively all round. It was too easy for this man Pavlidis to just ghost past my defence, and he made Mavropanos just looks silly. Lovely finish in the end, but could Areola have done better? Perhaps from that close range. Maybe I'm being a little bit harsh on the Frenchman. But in the end, Spurs take the lead once again, 2-0. Into Kudos, who's come central here as Paquetá, with a little bit of fatigue, has had to go off in place of Somerville down the left-hand side. And now, trying to play a ball forward. In the end, Alvarez was a little bit slack with that one. And Spurs can try and see if they can hit us on the counter-attack with the goal scorer Pavlidis, managing to just shrug off a couple of challenges. Heung-min Son bursts into the box here. He's got the pace to get away from Michaud, and he's got the skill, but he doesn't. Good defending in the end from Michaud. I wasn't expecting that. And he's now trying to wriggle away from a challenge against Maddison, but Maddison almost winning it back. My word, living life on the edge there was Michaud. Really, really dangerous play. But he had the composure to get away. Really nicely done. And now Emerson can try and see if he can go down the left-hand side. Lovely ball from Somerville into Souček. Souček waiting for the run of Somerville yet again. And he turns it around the corner. He finds it into him. Has Somerville managed to stay on side? Yes, he has. Somerville on his right, on as a sub. Lovely finish. And showing exactly why he was knocking on my door, demanding a spot back into my starting 11. Brilliant goal. Absolutely brilliant finish. And two men who have struggled in the second half of the season to get a foothold into my team. Souček and Somerville combining beautifully down that left-hand side. Somerville just ghosted in unmarked, and that is a goal of utter composure. Just lifted it and bent it round Vicario. Really nicely done. 2-1. We are back in this game here at the London Stadium. But frustratingly for me, it proved to be too little too late, as the referee calls time on that game after that late Somerville goal, and it means that once again we suffer defeat in the Premier League against our arch rivals Tottenham. Full time here it finishes West Ham 1, Spurs 2. However, for me, the most concerning thing is the performances of this man, Victor Gyökeres, not just in the game against Spurs, but in the entire episode altogether. As you can see, yes, he has scored 7 goals in 21 appearances, but 3 of those came with his previous club. He's only scored 4 times since joining West Ham in January, and I'm not quite sure what I can do to try and get the best out of the big Swede. At the moment, it feels like I've got him playing in a system that would suit him, and it also feels like with his stats, I've got him playing in an instruction and a role as a target man that would be perfect for him as well. However, seemingly it still isn't enough, so let me know what you think once again down in the comments below. What would you do to get the best out of the big Swede? Would you change his instructions, or does it require a much bigger change to our overall system and formation here at West Ham United? Let me know what you think, but as ever, that is going to be that for today's episode. Thank you once again for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it, and I'll see you again next time.